Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Trevor back again, here to bring you another video. This one is going to be doing a video review for The Walking Dead trade paperback volume 12. This one is called Life Among Them. The title, of course, referring to the fact that in this trade paperback, for most of it, Rick's group is basically out on their own without a base location, without a prison, without a farm, without anything. They're actually just traveling on their way to Washington, D.C. on the hopes that Eugene is correct, or not correct, but what he's saying is actually true. Pretty quickly within this trade, the characters find out, Rick finds out as they drop a communicator device, and it has no batteries in it, that Eugene is full of it, and that he hasn't been communicating with anybody in Washington at all, and that he basically was just saying that to give them to give Abraham like a mission or something to do. Here's a picture of the device right here, as you can see, and he drops it, and then everybody's surprised, and they're all like, why aren't there any batteries in it? And then Abraham loses his mind, starts beating up Eugene, beats the crap out of him. Here's one here, UMFer, and he's kicking him, he's kicking the crap out of him, and pretty much. So after that point, they're kind of like, well, what are we going to do now? Like there's no reason for us to continue. I believe they're in Virginia in this, or pretty close to Virginia at this point. And they're like, what are we going to do now? Should we go back? Where should we go? What should we do? Should we continue to Washington? And before long, this character just kind of walks up out of nowhere, whose name's Aaron. And he looks like this. And he just kind of walks up at night, and he's just like, hi. Like, what's going on? Like, you guys, how you guys doing? And Rick proceeds to instantly knock him out, and then ties him up, and then talks to him afterwards. Because obviously at this point, Rick is completely, has no faith left in people. He doesn't trust anyone. Any other group he comes in contact with, he basically is going to be at gunpoint with them, or there's going to be a fight. Pretty much simple as that. We get to see some cool zombie action because obviously they don't have a base of operations to protect them. They're just out there on their own, sleeping in tents. So Aaron basically pitches them a story that there is a community called Alexandria, and he seems too nice to be telling the truth. Like, he's just too nice. He's too fake, so to speak. But unsurprisingly, he's actually telling the truth. He also reunites with his gay boyfriend, as you can see here at the top. So Aaron is homosexual. And so then they go with Aaron, and they go back to, they go through some cities, I think, and different stuff like this, and some cool shots just of Charlie Adler drawing like different towns and zombie apocalypse, and they end up making their way to the Alexandria safe zone, and I will show you what that looks like here. And I believe that is supposed to be very close to Washington, D.C., maybe somewhere between Virginia and there. And this is what it looks like. You can see it's got a barrier on the outside, houses on the inside, and they've constructed this wall around the outside to keep them safe from the walkers. And up to this point, it has worked just fine. Now, what they quickly find out is that this group that they meet is sort of like, I don't want to say they're a bunch of sissies, but they're kind of sheltered. They don't really know what's going on outside. They haven't really run into any other groups that are going to cause them any trouble. Their leader, his name is Douglas Monroe. There he is right here. He's a senator. He's got a bald head, kind of maybe in his 50s. And he sort of tells Rick, has an interview with Rick, makes him, give up their weapons to stay in the town because they're not allowed to walk around just with weapons all the time. And, he kind of tells him a bunch of things. And this topic of a character named Alexander Davidson comes up, and Douglas flips out on the guy who brings him up and says, don't mention that name again, this kind of stuff. Now, that's something, too, that actually this character, Davidson, as far as I know, I don't know what Kirkman was doing with that, but as far as I know, it's been dropped. It's possible that he could make that character, Davidson, maybe the leader of this, the Saviors group, Negan, who comes up later, Negan's group. Maybe Davidson is Negan, but I can't recall whether or not Douglas said that he's dead or not. I just can't recall, whether or not he did. But yeah, so it sounds like the group at Alexandria has had some, some rough things happen to them. But for the most, And it's just kind of a nice change of pace to see the characters get to be safe for a little while away from danger and just kind of be able to live more closely to how normal life would be. You've got some shots of kids playing. Here's one of them on Halloween. And they're just kind of running around, as you can see there in the top spread, just kind of having fun playing. Carl is like playing with other kids, but, he quickly sort of can't get along with them and kind of, kind of leaves. And Carl, he doesn't believe the whole thing. Like, he kind of tells Rick that, like he doesn't understand why the kids are running around acting like nothing's wrong, like everything's fine. Because, like the world he knows, nobody's really safe. It's just sort of the safe zone that, has been so clean and everything, like that, they haven't had any zombies come in, like they're pretty much relaxing. Here's one of them having like a party and drinking and stuff. Inside like a house with electricity, with some electricity, they have some kind of generator or something. But just, overall, it's just, it's very different for them. For the characters that have been through so much, Rick's group been through so much, it's hard for them to just kind of relax and, sort of just, reintegrate back into society. And Rick, especially, at the end of it, basically saying that he's ordering Glenn to get their guns back. And as you can see here, he's kind of got like a menacing face, and he says, I want you to get our guns back or whatever, this kind of stuff. Glenn acts like he's drunk, and then at the end of this is ready to head out and get their guns back. So this is cool again that we get another change of pace, away from, the whole, I think Robert Kirkman does a good job of mixing things up and changing the platform of the story so that it doesn't become repetitive. Like a lot of comic book series, a lot of times they'll become very repetitive because they go on for hundreds of issues. The Walking Dead's at almost 100 issues now, and I don't really feel like any of the story arcs are really like the same. They're all kind of unique. At one point they're at this prison, another point they're at a farm, another point they're at a camp, another point they're traveling on a whim to Washington, D.C. Next thing you know, they meet a nice group. We've met a mean group with the governor's group. Now we're going to meet some nice people, that haven't really dealt with these types of things. And then after this, they're going to go and they're going to meet another nice group and another mean group, and they'll have two groups together and then different, so he does a really good job of mixing things up so that it doesn't feel stale. And this one here is kind of like, not I wouldn't say like a calming down, but sort of, psychologically seeing how would Rick and these characters act after they've been through all of this if they could live in like a little community or society that, lives the way we normally live. How would they act? How would they be? And in this one, it sort of answers that, and it's that they can't really reintegrate into a normal society. Carl can't just play with kids and act like nothing's wrong, nothing's going on. Rick can't have his gun taken away and be okay with it. It's just like, there's a lot of interesting themes psychologically in this trade. That being said, it's not one of the most exciting ones, but I think it is a cool direction for them to take in the story since it's totally different from the way things have been. I think that, Kirkman doesn't want to create the kind of picture for us that everybody's evil in this world, and everybody's messed up. I mean, there will be some groups out there that have just sort of turtled up and hid from everything and tried to stay sealed off and had a few guys go out and do what they need to do to fend off walkers. But other than that, they may be just totally, turtled inside this little, safe camp, so to speak, which is kind of what they're doing. And a lot of them barely ever leave. They have different jobs. Like people in the community have jobs and things like this. It's really, different compared to what we've seen in the characters have gone through in the series so far. So it is cool. In terms of action, though, and that kind of stuff, it's got to take off a couple points because it's not the most exciting one. Can you skip it? Well, all you really need to know is that they find this new community and they go there. So I guess you could kind of skip it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's one of the lesser suspenseful trades from The Walking Dead, and it's got less action than most of the others. It's still good, though. It's good as, like to take the story in that way. And I think the thing with Eugene is kind of interesting because right away when I heard that Eugene's like, oh, yeah, I'm a scientist and we're going to go to Washington, yada, yada, yada. I knew right away. I was like, what? That's BS. You just knew it was BS, and now they get to, figure that out in this issue. So I also like, too, Charlie Adler's artwork here. As you can see, Carl starting to look older, in my opinion. If you look at this Carl here, look at his face. He's starting to look like he's getting into his teens and that kind of stuff. So I like the way Charlie has, drawn the characters to look like they're aging a little bit and like they're changing as a result of the world. So that's another thing that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I'll see you in another 3 days for the next one. Peace, guys.